Today's episode of the Meet the Brave podcast is powered by Northwest Pizza and Pasta, where if you think the pizza is good, try hands down the best wings in the valley. Nobody does wings like NWP. Order online right now for takeout delivery to save time and have a dope-ass experience just ordering food. How about that? Today's podcast is also powered by the REEF Studios, Black-owned studio in the heart of downtown Oakland, where we can service your podcast needs, your audiobook needs, and even your multi-track and music instruments. Shout out to OG Jaren, Brian Simmons, Elisha, and crew. Follow the REEF Studios on IG for your time slot inquiries right now. Today's pod is also powered by Uplifters, brand rooted in community, and has a Grand National collaboration coming up soon. Domino's. I thought I had them here. Oh, I do. You wait for it. You wait for it. Bomb. Uplifters, Grand National Domino collab coming very, very soon. In fact, ladies, if you don't know what to get your mans for Valentine's Day, because all these commercials always be for the women, go get your man the gold spinner Domino's Grand National Uplifters collab, man. It'd be the awesome holiday Valentine's Day gift. Tap in ASAP. Uplifters, Grand National, whomever. You can get them anywhere. We got them. We even got them on consignment at the liquor store, smoke shop. Tap in. What else? Who are sponsors? Lastly, no. We got a couple sponsors because it is Valentine's Day. Where's one of the members of Grand National's daughter is a hustler and is making Valentine's Day baskets for all you last minute folks. So with that being said, I am going to direct all of you beautiful people to the page, and this page will be tagged in this week's description. Ari's Yummy Gifts. Ari's Yummy Gifts on IG. ARISYUMMY Gifts. Ari's Yummy Gifts on IG. Get your Valentine's Day basket because you last minute you was gonna be scrambling anyway, and your girl gonna be mad at you. You're gonna be sick, so it's good. Just tap in with Ari. And then lastly,
X-rated version too.
These are children we're talking about. You gotta relax.
My bad.
You gotta relax. Lastly, lastly and always, our brother isn't here this week, but that does not mean that he won't be in charge of quality control, video production, just making this show look as dope as he always does. Let's Bubble Productions always powers the show and is in charge and responsible for the video content that you love in regards to the Meet the Brave podcast. So tap in Let's Bubble Productions for all your video, film, and storytelling needs. Now, with that said, start the show. It's Meet the Brave podcast. I am Monty Draper.
I am LG.
And we have a special guest this week.
I am Spesh.
Hey, Spesh, what's up?
Double on time, you feel me?
Exact, always.
Spesh is a dear friend, super fan. I do this thing where I run down just a portion of your resume. So and then we always talk about just
froze.
I'm frozen.
You're good now.
Okay. And then just not being humble. So can you please run down your catalog, your resume, and not leave nothing out? The host of my favorite Twitch show right now, Seeing Sounds. I'll start there and then you take it, but host of my favorite Twitch show, Seeing Sounds, every Wednesday at
7 p.m. Pacific.
Hey.
/special says.
Hey, what else though, Spesh? Because it's not just that. There's so much.
You're talking current resume, right?
Nope,
or you're saying the whole thing?
The whole, run it down.
Okay. College radio at SF State, KSFS, Special Sundays. KMEL intern to front desk to promotions coordinator to executive assistant to on air to got myself the fuck out. And then the special delivery podcast, which is now monthly. I tried to do daily, I tried to do weekly, and now I'm like monthly. And yeah, the interviews are everybody from Royce the 5'9" to SZA to Grand National to goodness. Let's see. I'm like, let me look around.
Yeah. Look around. Look around at those posters.
Let me look around. Oh,
We lost you.
it's okay.
There we go.
Okay. I'm like, I'm gonna have to switch this out. Okay.
There we go.
You guys can hear me?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. We're ditching the mic. But I still got the headphones. Okay.
Facts.
Who else? Earth Gang.
Earth Gang. Mick Jenkins is in there. I
Yeah,
mean, don't have me
Bad
start running
Cause.
down the. Yeah, I'm just saying, like Ultra Flex, and one of the things on your resume I don't want to overlook, because I was telling you right before we started the show, is you being the creator and founder of Pod Recognized Pod.
Yes.
Talk about what that is, because I know at Grand National, the benefits that we're reaping from being a part of a living, thriving ecosystem, you can't always quantify and put in the terms of like some variable that everyone can sort of see and recognize. It's sort of these undercurrent, evergreen, just nuggets that just constantly are giving. And so our producer and co-host of the show is on us. We'll talk about Lex in a minute. He's not here this week, and we even before Lex was scheduled to be off this week, we had already talked about having you on the show, and it was like, all right, it was like, yo, let's get Spesh. And so on some last minute shit, like, yo, fam, what you doing? You're like, oh yeah, bet, here, boom, 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 and like had all these things ready. Talk about Pod Recognized Pod, what it is exactly, what it was birthed from, and then what you've been able to spawn from that so far, because a lot has come from it already in such a short time.
Give me 1 second. I'm gonna switch out. I know Push hates me right now, but you can. We need to shout out Push too. So hold on.
Yes, we do. I'm
just gonna switch out.
While she is doing that, I will take the time to shout out Push, our audio engineer that does both, not just the pod, but also Grand National Radio, and has everything sounding great. So shout out to brother Push. Also, that's another person to tap in with if you do need anything audio related. Tap in with Push Kalan. His information is always in the description of the show. So also tap in with Push. Spesh, let us know when you're back, Spesh.
I think I'm good. Can you hear me?
You are. Yep.
Okay. I'm like, I care too much. It's a bad thing. So Pod Recognized Pod. Yeah, I had this idea a couple years ago, and I went to there are podcast meetups all over the world, and I went to a couple in the Bay Area, and it was no shade, nothing to them, but there was something more that I wanted from the meetups. So I was like, I kind of want to do my own, and I kind of, I write things out. So I wrote it all out, and then I don't know, it felt too complicated, but I had talked to a couple of people about it. And then my friends, John and Jordan, they hit me up and they were like, remember, didn't you say you want to do a podcast meetup? And I was like, oh yeah, I did. They're like, let's do it. I'm like, okay. I think the biggest thing was back then just finding a space to do it. I'm very into like spaces, and it had to like feel right. And so they had a space, so we used it. And yeah, it was just about bringing podcasters together, having conversations. Podcasting is a super solitary medium. Whether you have co-hosts or not, it's a very like, even back then, I mean, we're talking a year and a half ago, when there was a lot of podcasts, but there wasn't really places for people to sit down and talk about them and be like, oh, this new software came out, or Spotify is doing this, or whatever. And so, yeah, it was just a community building thing, and just finding people from all over the Bay. And then when Shelter in Place happened, it was like, oh, now we can, have anybody in, because we're doing them on Zoom. And yeah, just connecting with people. And it's funny too, like, I was talking to my boyfriend Jeremy last night, and I was like,
Cut out my dog. That's my dog.
yes. He listens every single week. We both do it, and then we'll come together like, did you hear this part? Did you hear that part? And there was like one episode a couple months ago where we had both already listened, but we wanted to listen together, so then we listened together. So it's part of our lives. But we were talking about he's really into crypto, and like not the, you know, I look it up, he's like part of crypto groups, and we were just talking about how when you're part of a community, it helps kind of change your focus, because a lot of times when you're making something, it's when you don't have your tribe, or I guess that's not PC anymore, so I apologize, when you don't have your community and your group, like you're constantly thinking about what other people are doing or what they're not doing, or, you know what I mean? Like it's just hard to relate to people. So once you find that community, you find that group, you're like, oh, this is it. Like we can all talk, we can all hang out, and those other people, you know, still matter in their own capacity, but at the same time, you're just not as worried about them, and you're not as distracted by them. You're like, oh no, I got this group, we're doing this thing, like full speed ahead. So that's been like the biggest takeaway for me, is just like being able to have a group of people come together, and when we find things, we get excited, and when people drop episodes, and when people hit milestones, like it's just super cool.
That just being plugged in from the first time, the first meeting we went to, but even before the Pod Recognized Pod meetings, the meetups that you would find about, you would make sure that me, Beaches, Trey Coastal, that we had the information, and we'd attend, and like, yo, and I remember we went to that one in the city, it was like, it's kind of cool, and never even assumed for 1 second that it was going to birth you starting your own. And then that's the other thing too, it's like so many things of so many services exist, but the services that are in place usually don't have us culturally in mind. And that's not a black or white thing. That's just the functionality. Like, yo, this shit is stale. Like we could do the same thing and not have it be this stuffy. How about that? And even if you start there, I want to send, before we get any further, I want to send a special shout out to 510 Media in the Hope class. This is week 4 just passed. I missed the first week, so my third week. But what's been fucking me up is obviously the learning. Like, we're learning a lot. Don't get me wrong. Like, the learning is vast and it's heavy, but it's really the concept, L, and I want to talk to you about this because we've kind of been talking about it on the pod for a minute now, but this is the first learning environment in my entire life that I've walked into that the base of the learning environment is the instructor, the instructor's entire staff, black, white, whatever you identify as, and then your peers that are taking the class with you. Everybody's there because they care about black people. That shit's like on its own is a curriculum. So, oh man, did I lose y'all?
He was onto something though. All in all, you was onto something.
It stopped moving, and I was like, no, I didn't lose y'all for real. I didn't lose y'all. I didn't hear y'all cut. Y'all both was looking like, but the way y'all froze, it froze like y'all was listening. So I'm like, oh, this deep. This is special.
I'm getting in my shit.
It's that post that I posted when I'm telling the deep ass story, and Ellen Lex in the background still making. Morgan tagged me in a TikTok where he said thank you for his health, his mental health and depression and all this shit, and his partners is in the background just cracking jokes, and Morgan gonna say this the Meet the Brave podcast with Monty trying to say something deep. This Ellen. Oh man. We'll get to that though. That's some because I think the audio went through, but it cut out on your guys' end. But I was just saying that the concept of entering in a space where the foundation of everyone gathering is them just caring about black people, and that in itself being a curriculum, especially when you never had it before, and what everyone's attempting to do in order to make sure that you not only you get the information, but you're able to retain it in a healthy manner. There's so much trauma attached associated with Black children and learning. And if you got trauma learning as a child, you know you got trauma learning as an adult. So something as simple as working in a team setting, to your point, especially working in a team setting, and one of your peers going, "Hey fam, you should try this." Oh, don't tell me what to do. Like immediately you meet it with somebody attacking you personally. It's like, nah, fam, I want your shit to be better, you know? And I had one of my notes for this week, because we had the Grand National meetup yesterday at the lake. And shout out to Jesus, did an amazing job leading the meeting and walking us through how we can up level and continue to grow Grand National. But it's a delicate process. There's so many people. Everyone's at different phases in their lives and have different expectations. So it's a real delicate approach. But what D did do is not make the receiving of the information a traumatic experience. It was inviting, open to questions, like anything you may be feeling right now, we're open to. And so much of that is lost in translation, as far as like the key to success is teamwork. But there's so much trauma associated around learning and teamwork, we don't know how to work in a fucking team. You know what I'm saying? So it's been really dope to be a part of Meet the Brave Area, at the Av Records, Grand National now, like these different iterations of working in a team, and everybody's like, yo man, how you able to go so fast, do all this? And it's like, dog, I work really well as a team member and just doing my fucking part. Like L will tell you, it's like, yo fam, it's one thing to be able to stay on the floor because you averaging 30. Try being the person the coach don't want to take off the floor and you not averaging double digits. Like that's when you're doing something, like, right, where you defending, you being present isn't based on you getting a shot. I literally have played I played in games, especially AAU, because everybody's the best person on the team. It's like, yo fam, we not drawing up a number for Armani and we have Brandon Walker, we have Wendell McKinnis, we have Eli Holman, we got Drew Gordon. Like it's dogs on this team. I'll draw up something for them before I draw up something for you. So it really is a tool to be able to figure out how to be an asset, how to be of service, especially when the utilitarian portion is often overlooked. You know, you can fill up points, rebounds, you do everything, but the glory is it's always in the dunk, in the Steph Curry from the logo. But you know, the work that happens in between that is also essential too. And you see that with every team. You see Draymond just willing to set the best screen possible so Steph gets an open look, or that he's wide ass open. I always say the better screen you set, the more open you are off that screen. And so I really wanted to highlight teamwork this week because it was a reoccurring theme in my entire week. To go off on a tangent, and then also salute our brother Lex, because of working in a team and oh my God, again. Goodness,
it's all good though, man. You know, you gotta spread out the gym.
Clearly, goodness.
But
we have never had problems like this. This is madness.
There we go.
I was saluting Lex. He got an awesome film gig, and is working on that today. So, brother, we love you. We're proud of you. Congratulations. Our shout out to our listenership: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Castbox, Simplecast, and then everybody that has been tapping in via the IG TV, the Reels, the YouTube page. Make sure you subscribe and hit the notifications, run it up. We are trying to get to that 1,000 mark. Like, for real, let's set a goal. What's a realistic goal? We damn near halfway there. Get us to the 1,000 mark. No, ain't no. Get us to the 1,000 mark by tomorrow. How about that? Damn, deadlines. Nah, I'm trying to hit 1,000 tomorrow. Tap in.
No time, man. Right now.
Yeah, no time at all. So, what's going on?
Do that before we tell you. How about that?
What's going on? What's going on with y'all? Happy Sunday. Thank you both for being here. That long ass intro.
It's Super Bowl Sunday, man.
Super Bowl. Who you? Oh, so I got roasted for my picks because we literally picked and the games were on in the studio, and I was wrong on both for the championship. So, and
I was wrong on one side. Like I thought the Bills was gonna be there, but I
yeah.
don't go against TV.
So you got TB basically. Special, y'all watching the games today?
I saw the analysts all week, and they was, the analysts was trying to give the cop out for the Chiefs. So don't do that. Don't do that.
Yeah.
They're trying to all of a sudden act as if like the Bucks are super loaded, and it'll be crazy if the Chiefs are able to, if Patrick Mahomes is able to win this game. All
That's
the odds
crazy.
are.
That's crazy.
Hey, bro, don't start that narrative.
That's crazy. Special, y'all watching?
No, my dad hates it. I was raised like a huge sports fan, and it just kind of dwindled. So he's sad about it. But yeah, no, I couldn't tell you.
Bypass that part. Yeah. It's all good. You went on to bigger, better things,
Yeah, I mean, I was super.
It was a whole other lane to go into.
Yeah, I was super into it for a while. Like, he raised us as Niner fans, and then I was like, no, I'm a Packers fan, and he was pissed. And then I was like, oh no, I'm a Saints fan, and then that's where it dwindled. So I could have told you like all types of stuff, and then it just.
Your detachment happened early. Like, it was no connection to a specific squad. Like, hey, my year, this right here. After that, next squad maybe. After that, I don't give a shit. None of these people even in the league no more.
That's what really happened.
I definitely get it. That's kind of how I am with like once Brown is done, then I don't know what that's going to be like. Once TV's done with football, I mean, all right, what y'all got?
If Tom, there's on the East Shore Highway album, the song KBLX, I have a line that says, put up Brady numbers, they'll still say it's the system, so what? Mm-hmm. Like, you can have these numbers, they'll say, oh, you're just a product of the system. Okay. Tom goes to Tampa, where they were loaded before he got there and wasn't able to figure it out, and in 1 year swings the entire organization.
The crazy thing is, you saw it like, I think it was probably week 11. I think week 11 or week 12 was when they played against the Chiefs. Mm-hmm. And that's when like they lost that game after they gave up the first few scores or whatever in the first quarter. But then they were creeping back into the game by the end of it, so they only lost by 3. But you saw like a shift in like the mentality. You know what I mean? Like you saw where TB's entire time to this moment was shifting the culture of the entire squad, like where they believe that we actually are the rawest group on the squad. I mean, I'm like on the field right now. Even in that loss, you can see it from there, and they haven't lost since. So it took a little time. There was no off season, but yeah.
Have you seen his the documentary floating around just about his mentality? He remembers like Draymond. Draymond can tell you every player that was picked before him. Tom Brady can tell you every quarterback that was picked before him. And he went in the 6th round. So it's hella people. And when you see the list, you're like, wait a minute. And so hindsight, but then what he remembers more than the players that were picked before him, he remembers all the quote unquote experts saying he was terrible. Like he ain't forgot none of, like he remembers verbatim what they said about him.
Mm-hmm.
And still
how folks see like who they are. You know what I mean? Like you got to create your own shit. Like people can put that on your shoulder or whatever, but as far as like keeping it or whatever, like that's a lot more credit needs to go to the individual. Yeah. Regardless, like at some point something clicks and it's hard to get that thing off of me. You can make it smaller, but it's still there.
I was trying to get to out of that, just what I don't know what to that point, G, and how that transfers across the board. I shit for both of y'all really, and in whatever arena you step into, whatever role you may step into, just going like, I'm gonna just be the best at whatever it is. And so it kind of just made it where it's like there, don't get me wrong, there's definitely passions. There's passions, there's careers, and there's just needing to survive. There's all of those things. But I feel like if Tom Brady was a car salesman or sold insurance, or I don't know, like I feel like he's one of those people, like no matter what he would be doing right now, would be with that same edge of just, well, I'm gonna do it the best. and the most efficient. You know what I'm saying? Is I think you see that in certain people where it just it translates beyond the system, beyond the circumstances, beyond the and even beyond the discipline. So if it's singing, if it's construction, like he would be like, I'm gonna be the nicest at this, and outdo all of you because y'all don't really care for real. Like not like you pretending, because it's either you do or you don't. Like there isn't much gray area for, I don't know, the exceptional ones. Haven't seen much room for them to be like on the fence about being committed. You talked about Brian. It's like his excellence has bored people, and he's going, yeah, man, I spend $1 million on my body a year. Like of course I'm playing on 40 whatever. And that commitment, outside of just the taking care of your body, but that commitment to any single one of his teammates, even people that were all like his biggest enemies and like rivals at one time. Rondo, for example. Rondo, by all accounts, in those Celtics and Cavs series, those Celtics and Miami Heat series, couldn't stand Brian. And he goes, once you see it, it's a completely different beast of like how dedicated he is to just being better than everybody. You know?
It's the stuff that goes on, like it doesn't get talked about because it's behind the scenes. You know, like you see what happens on the surface, where like people get these accolades, and usually sports is going to be at the height of most of these things because it's an outlook on life that is fabricated in a way. Like it has its own aura around it that you don't get in everyday life when you're, you know, working something like I would say a regular job, but you're working outside of the public eye. Yeah. So of course everything's going to be heightened when you're in the sports arena. So which is why these people, like these individuals, will develop this kind of childlike view of the world where they need this constant level of attention on them because you give it to them every single day. When in a regular world, that's not really how things go. You know what I mean? Like, and you have a better chance of, in a regular world, somebody having you completely fucked up. You know what I mean? Where like they don't know anything about your background because it's not public knowledge. So they can have you twisted in your first like interactions with each other, but game could only recognize game. You know what I mean? So like after being around somebody, you can only recognize that, oh, this individual is different. Let me not play him. You know what I mean? Or let me not play her. You know what I mean? Or let me pay more attention to this person because I can add some things or tweak some things in my own type of deal. And that's kind of how this everyday life thing goes. You know, so yes, sports is like the heightened sense of how this everyday life thing is, but that's also the approach. You know what I mean? So when you talk about the chips and like being great and no matter what it is that you're doing, that attention to detail and wanting to be better every single day is something that anybody can do. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't matter who the hell you are, you have that within you, but don't allow people to like be out here telling you what to do because they will. You know what I mean? Like somebody that is working and doing everything they possibly can to gain advantages, they're going to utilize those advantages in every chance they get. And the folks that aren't doing that shit every day, they're going to be the pawns within their game. You know, you just don't want to be that person. You know, like I can't be the pawn. So therefore I have to be, you know, motherfucking in the back looking at the landscape and seeing what my moves are a few steps ahead and shit. So that's kind of like what you were talking about.
No, real no, definitely the mentality. Spesh, we with the show, it's been an experience for so many reasons, but mainly you know, just seeing how people interact with it, what they, you know, how they become dependent upon it. And what's happened for me, and maybe you too, G, is I'm proudest of like how specific it is to me, like how important the show is to me every week to get up with my dogs is like, it's so dope. And then the fact that people want to hear me meet up with my partners is crazy to me. Like it's so nuts. But it is indeed a thought that I've had since we were younger, especially L, myself, Poe. I talked to Bird for a really long time over the last few weeks, and he brought up a similar thing to where on any given night, no matter if the intentions are to do the most reckless shit, if the energy is centered around like taking our night on one, it's gonna happen. But in the confines of taking your night on one, you're gonna arrive at these many plate dynamic conversations that make you go, how the fuck did we get here, and how are we gonna pivot out of this deep moment to going back to being reckless? And without a hiccup, everybody pivots back to like what we doing. You know, it's such a fluid space.
Very last minute though. Like it's some of those nights where the conversation is really on one, where you almost forget that there's like something cracking tonight, like something that's going on.
Yeah.
And you show up at that event hella late. You know what I mean? Because because the older you got to, you started figuring out that, bro, you ain't got to be at this thing from the beginning to the end. Like you literally, and it's not even like a cocky thing that you can just walk up in there and just need 30 minutes to do whatever it is you're doing. But really, that's about as much time that you really need at some of these social gatherings. Like spending an entire night drinking and being in some of these public settings and interacting with people for 5, 6, 7 hours, bro, like what are y'all doing? You know, like I'd rather do that with my partners where we actually plotting and planning and, you know, getting mental health right, you know, shit like that. Like things that you can translate, that translates across everybody's backgrounds. Like, you know, not everybody grows up in the same household, but everybody got something that, you know, like my partners and shit like that, like, or my family and shit like that, like we all have different upbringings within the same like community though. You know what I mean? Like the birds upbringing is completely different from mine. Elijah same thing, and you know JG and Landry and Autumn Cats, but like we somehow like gravitated to each other and just stayed within the same scope. You know what I mean? So that always brought something back to it. So that was always like a interesting thing about, you know, that whole thing. You know.
Yeah, I wanted to, because we have fortunate enough to have Spesh here with us. I wanted to get, and somebody who's been tapped in since day one, has been on the show, in its earliest iterations too. I was hoping that you could sort of walk us through, you know, what keeps you tapped in. Like it's one thing for Jeremy to tap in. More shout out to Quiddy, B Walk, Bird, Lodge. Like it's people that have been, that I know listen every week. My mom, like, but it's a whole nother thing for the women that go. I don't ever miss y'all's show, you know, because it is to be 100% honest, it ain't pandering trying to be on no like support women shit or no feminine, like it ain't that type of time at all. And sometimes, more times than not, I'm often like, damn, this is too far. You know, what keeps you tapped in? If you don't mind sharing.
I love that. No, I mean, I think the too far is part of it too. Like just that the unfiltered, like, well, this is the actual answer to the questions that come in.
That's crazy.
Like, this is really how it happens. Because that's important. You know what I mean? I think especially with men, like you guys don't express as much. So to get little nuggets of what's in your mind or what you might be thinking about or how you might answer questions, I think is important to us, and not because we, you know, are trying to get at you in a weird way. Like literally to care for you, we have to understand what's in your mind and what you're thinking about. But on top of that, for me personally, it's the storytelling, the way you guys tell stories. Like I hit Monty last week because that first like 10 minutes when you guys are talking about East Oakland and your aunt and just all of that, like was just incredible storytelling, to where we weren't there, but we feel like we were there, or, you know, hopefully we have an aunt like that. Like, you know, a lot of us have experienced sideshows. Like there's a lot of different levels of it, and the storytelling is all there. And I think that transcends gender or anything, to where it's like, damn, that's just a good story. And like you're saying, Elle, like we all didn't come up together, but there's always certain things that click for us to where it's like, oh, I relate to that, and I know what that was like, or oh, my cousin did that, like having those little connections. But you guys still need to have like an actual women's panel on here. Like, I'm not qualified to speak for all women, and I'll answer your questions today, but you guys have to have like a real like woman who knows her shit. Like, I was raised by my dad, so I still have little qualities that, you know, I wouldn't make myself a female spokesperson, but just know that you need to do that.
Unfortunately for you, Elle and I both have the most many gender-specific topics on the list today. And this is no pre-pro. We did not plan this. Elle literally typed out with his fingers, Cardi B. Cardi B is the best song-making female rapper, no hyperbole. To that, I watched the Godcast with Godfrey, Lord Jamar, and Rod Digger this week because they had Just Blaze on. Mm-hmm. Just Blaze proceeded to walk through he and Rod Digger's difference of opinions on what makes GOAT level status rappers getting help writing. Specifically, they were discussing getting help, and Rod Digger out of her mouth said, yeah, no, I ain't taking no bars. That's crazy. And if you take bars, you can't be the best. And and then simultaneously, because Kev and I are watching it, Kev goes, well, that's her female bias kicking in because she feels like she has to stand on her own as a woman because she'll be people are automatically assuming that she's getting help because she's in Busta's camp. Busta has to be helping her. So to prove them wrong, she's gonna make sure Busta don't help her. And she goes, yeah, Busta don't get no help from nobody. And me and Kev looked at each other like, oh, she's sadly mistaken. And Busta didn't explain that to her. Busta has albums with Pharrell, Q-Tip, Dr. Dre, Jay Dilla. That nigga's gotten help before. I don't care what you say. And Cardi is able to have the impact that she's able to have. And there's no argument whose pen is better out of Rod Digger and Cardi B. Nobody will ever argue that. But Rod's kind of moved out of that she's not even in that conversation because Cardi's had the success that she's had because she's let other people pen for her. So, explain.
so after all that, explain.
That's crazy. I'm sorry. No, not explain. I thought it was fascinating, and then to see L's topic this morning because it was solely based off of that dialogue.
Now, I didn't see the Rod Digger thing, but
yeah, I gotta share that with you guys.
Yeah, like the conclusion that I came with Cardi though is that if you really look at her track record, and this is, you know, I don't want to do the whole thing where we talk about like the label she's in and the amount of help that she receives, because you can receive a lot of help. You could be at a certain label, you can have all the money behind you, and it should not transition well. Like we've seen that it doesn't connect, you know, and the person that Cardi is, I just don't think that she's able to make something that's corny. You know what I mean? I think that's the gist of it. Is like that's an important element of the individual, that you aren't here to just do shit for the sake of it's gonna hit for a certain mass group. You know, like the shit that Cardi does, I don't think is ever gonna actually be corny from my thought process. So I'm saying, with that being said, that she's up there on the rankings when it comes to just picking the correct song and knowing what's going to fly. You know, like, yes, people can help out with that part of it, but she would still have to want to put her name on it, you know? So, and then the whole thing about like her still in the line or whatever, bro, people say that. Like, that shit has been said plenty of times.
What are your feelings in and around? Because it's the conversation is layered. It's not just one thing being discussed. There's a bunch of different things that are taking place. So want to be delicate to that, and what especially in reference to Rock, because she to me one of the greatest pins. That's not even gender, like just one of the best pins ever. But
I'm not talking about Rod though, because I'm not Not putting Ra in the conversation of making like amazing songs for masses. Like
not even close. Facts.
yeah, like people need to know like the layers to like the game that you want to play. And
Yeah.
if that's not a game that you're willing to play, then why the hell are you? Why the hell would somebody want to put that into the conversation or compare the two? You know what I mean? Like those are two pieces that don't need to be compared.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to be in comparison, then you would have to be playing the exact same game.
Yeah.
So there's people that get pissed off at Drake all the time about him getting help or not being the best rapper and stuff. Not all the things that you want to possibly say about Drake.
Yeah.
But are you willing to play the game that Drake is playing?
Answer is no.
No, thank you.
What do
And
you
it's like,
special?
and I don't know how many people that can play Drake's game though. You know what I mean?
There you
Like
go.
there's a lot of players to Drake that it might be impossible for somebody else to even be on the same playing field as Drake. I get it, but I mean that's some shit that folks got to deal with. If that's your lane, you got to deal with it. Not everything is built to be sweet.
Do you feel like Cardi's, like you said, she'll never make anything that's corny to you? For you, do you think it comes from her like being on Instagram and her like showing so much of her life and like spending so much time with us and like still making sure that she's relatable in that aspect? Do you think that plays a part, or is it just solely the music?
For me, it's music wise because I'm not online to like I don't pay attention too much to like individuals like their day to day lives, so I don't really know too much about that, so I can't speak on that part.
Mm-hmm.
But that definitely has a lot to do with it if she is that in tune with her demographic or just the people that are listening to her. That translates over because if you're always in contact with them and you're being real or authentic in that aspect, then yes, that's gonna hit. That's a lot like Big Lotto. Like she's blowing up, I think, because of her relatability by how much she's letting into like her just being interactive with fan bases. I think that's a part of being an artist at this point. Like people want to know you day to day. It's not for everybody, but if you want to play that game, then that's the shit that you got to do. Like I'm more of a like the way Kendrick approaches shit. Like I give you something amazing, and then you probably ain't gonna hear from me for a bit. But that's more so headspace.
Stay there for both of you guys because I know how big Kendrick fans both of y'all are, me included. There's absolutely no question that there's a Baby Keem influence on Damn though, and for whatever reason, when people hear me say that, they take that as an indictment of Kendrick, and no, that is part of that man's brilliance. And when I say influence, that don't mean that Keem wrote a single fucking word, and if he did, it still wouldn't matter to me. It wouldn't matter for 1 second because of the excellence that Kendrick has displayed and the same Baby Keem influence that is on Damn, the same George Clinton influence is on To Pimp a Butterfly. Mm-hmm. For the same Dr. Dre influence that is on Good Kid, Mad City. There are these moments, and again, back to the initial point of teamwork. Rod Digger is is in a camp with Busta Rhymes. Who's had bigger hits than Busta Rhymes? And you don't take it. You're going out of your way not to take direction as the means to uphold this thing that isn't even real. Like there is no like the hey, you can't take, that's not an actual rule anywhere. And to the point that Just Blaze was making was that y'all goats that's on y'all rap Mount Rushmores have all taken help. Whether it's known or not is the debate, but they've all taken assistance in some form of fashion, and we move the goalposts depending on if we like the person. Drake just so happens to have these characteristics that make people debate whether they like him or not, but no one's debating the music ever. And so it becomes this thing, and I don't want to narrow it down to just hip hop and Black folks, but it feels like that's the space where this sort of this lack of collaboration is sort of reinforced as a means to sort of stifle your growth. I think anyone who's made a project worth a damn has had collaborators in and around in the room to make sure that the thought or the concept is explored to this infinite space, to where the details and the nuances are heightened, so that it is more relatable and inviting to the masses. And so where you go, a dam can win a Pulitzer Prize. A Pulitzer Prize. I want to know who the fuck in that room heard that record and went, I understand what's happening on this record. Because to me, it felt like Damn was made specifically for me. For that record to win that award of that prestige says so much about the behavioral science portion of it, where it's like it's more than just music. When you think about Humble being the first single and it being so far from anything Kendrick had done, it's like a social experiment. Like, I'm gonna shock everybody and see what type of time they on for real. And in the midst of some of a bop, I'm gonna be snapping. It's genius, bro, and it's hard not to think there wasn't people in the room going, just challenging him, and him it's a symbol of him stepping up to the challenge, as opposed to him going, nah, I got to do this on myself. I got to do this one for myself, fam. I'm not taking no help from nobody. That seems really silly to me. But I do feel like at a point in my life, I was where Rod Digger was. It's like, nah, man, that's crazy if you got help. No. The more you read these liner notes and see how many writers is on some of these songs, it's shifting a lot. And we got to start having conversations about having impact. I don't know. I haven't completely worked through the thought of how to discuss it and make it to where because to me, it's no debate. Put hella people in the room, everybody work on this one thing, even if it's for an individual, but make sure this person is supported in order to do their best. And that doesn't mean writing for them. That could mean holding a fucking umbrella in Jane Hancock's video to make sure she looked like a star. It could mean something as simple as that, is ultimately what I'm saying. But because we're so wrapped up in, I can't do none of that, I got made fun of for holding the fucking umbrella. And I'm going, wait, what? How does that work? Like, in what world in your mind can you go, that's crazy to do that for your family though? Like, Jane is family. And on top of not being family, like, if she wasn't a family and I'm just a fan and she's like, Monty, hold this umbrella. Like, what? I'm on my way. I don't know. I'm trying to really understand that mentality, that mindset of not accepting help. And maybe I was there not maybe. I was definitely there before, where L and Grammy. Oh, perfect. I think I told this story. I'm not sure if I said on the pod though. Grammy weekend, L at the studio. L and Poe. I don't know what's happening, y'all. Sorry.
We can hear you.
You can hear me, but there's like, what is happening? Something's playing in the background. Something's playing in the background. I don't know what it is. I don't know where it's coming from. Hold on. This episode is maining. I don't know where it's coming from.
Yeah, we lost you completely now.
You're muted?
Oh yeah, you muted. Your mic was muted.
I muted it because it was playing a video I was editing on loop. And I was like, bro, what is it? Where is it coming from? But it was like buried on, like, I'm the cat with 75 tabs open, so I would have never found that shit.
Was that like an exception moment where, like, you was talking, but you was also talking to yourself. So you was like trying to figure it out and trying to figure out like where I am at right now.
What is happening to me right now?
Bro, you gotta get to a dreidel, man. Make sure you see what reality, man.
So you always find your way back.
Yeah, so you know what reality is. Know if you're still in a dream or not.
Oh man, I'm sorry, y'all. I completely lost my thought, but I hopefully it was completed. Unless one of y'all remember where we were headed.
You talk about holding an umbrella and people tripping off of that.
Why you gotta say it like that, fam?
Nah, because I had an important point to make.
Yeah. We're trying to hold on to our thoughts too.
Well, no, go y'all definitely go, because I lost with hearing me talk to me and not being able to find my voices now was crazy. So yeah, y'all definitely jump in.
Hey, Monty. Hey, there's a lot of people that feel that way, man. So I'm glad that you was able to speak out for folks. You know, the important people that the line you just said. You didn't mean to say it, but it's just the line that you just said. It was important for like the public. You know, when you're speaking and trying to find your voice and you couldn't find it, you know what I'm saying? Like, you just want to be heard. And when it's all said, you know, it's all said and done.
I see what you did there. I see what you did.
You know, I got you, bro. You know,
I see what
you
doing the science, the mathematics. I see you.
The math. You feel me? Nah, but I think it really comes down to people getting a hold of like their own reality and what they want out of it, you know. And I think that too many times we, in the process of like trying to figure it out or coming into our own and stuff, we're listening to way too many outside sources that don't know much about it. When like the important folks is like the people that are around us every day or around our creative output that are actually giving proper input, you know, and that we should probably weigh on the scale, weigh that way higher than the individual that just happened to see something one time and had a comment about it. You know what I mean? Because like that should be coming from within. You know what I mean? Like that hate shit. You need haters, man. You need the motherfuckers. And like I just think that more people or just everybody should be operating on like their frequency, you know, and don't allow folks to get you off of like what your frequency is. So like, well, like Monty said, hey, she asked me to do something, and I did it. Didn't even think about it. It stopped at that. You know what I mean? Because it was player as hell to do that. You know what I mean? And then like do that shit with like, you know, run that up that way. And then like if somebody says something about it, my nigga, did you wouldn't have done it? I bet. Then that says a lot about you. Then
about
you know what I mean? Like, you know what I'm saying? If you wouldn't have done that shit, then keep that shit in your element. You know what I mean? Like, and see what comes back your way. You know what I mean? So like that's really what I see in that. That's all.
Yeah, especially with the raw digga example though, like I think about it as like stigma, pride, and unlearning, because you think about when raw digga was coming up, there was huge stigma about working together, ghostwriting, all that stuff, and just the pride in that. So then now we're at a place where I think we're all trying to unlearn that. You know, we're having more conversations about who helped who and who was in the studio, and oh yeah, of course, you know, Eminem wrote that Dre line, of course Jay-Z wrote that Dre line. You could hear it, but we're also having conversations about it. So it's like I think when we're all unlearning something at the same time, everybody's going to be at different stages. And so I think raw digga is just at a different stage. And I think too, like, there's a stigma in it, but I think even back then there was a lot of like secrecy to it. So to me, I don't know if she didn't know that Busta got help or if she felt like she couldn't say that she knew Busta got help. You know what I mean? So it's like there's elements that go into it, and it's like we're all unlearning this together. So we all have to be in different places with it. And just the pride aspect, like, you know, we all have talked about how we've been in that situation. Like sometimes it's hard to work together because, you know, if you've been let down before, that's going to play louder in your head. And so when you go to do something or you go to ask somebody for something, our brain just makes that really loud of like, oh, well, they might let you down. And you're like, oh man. So that's part of the unlearning too, is like, we have to really get rid of all those thoughts of like, no, this person's going to let me down. Like, it's just going to be like it was before. Like all of that negative talk, we have to unlearn that individually. So,
yeah. And I hope, my hope is that always in these conversations that this don't come off as like raw digger slander. In fact, it's more like she's so talented and had such a brilliant moment on a mainstream level of almost breaking through and being a complete different representation of what the female MC could have been. What happens if she does accept help? Like it's God damn it.
like super into like editing, and I'm like very like conscious of the guests, and I'm like, oh my god, I want to put this out right away. But now that I'm putting it out monthly, it's like, all right, I have 3 weeks to work on it. Yeah, like I super edit them, so it's like it makes me feel better and it makes the guest feel better, because it's like I've been on podcasts too where they don't drop it for months and you're like, did I say something wrong? Like what happened? And so it's like I kind of have to teeter between like hurry up and get it done and like not let it never come out. So it's weird.
Yeah. Okay.
Hey y'all.
Welcome.
Hey, Zoom is not fucking with me today. This is crazy. Yeah, I have no idea. Radig, I love you. Simple. I love you.
Ra's great, man. I loved Carmen. That was my shit.
Man. What? Had that on DVD.
What a random ass reference, G. You might be a hip hop head for real. You a backpacker? Where your back? Hey, bro. What's in your backpack, fam?
I got the invisible joke.
An invisible backpack is crazy. You had to see through shit? You had a see-through backpack?
See through everything.
See-through backpack is crazy.
The invisible backpack means that it's always on, though.
Fat. Ooh, dude, doing the math. I see you. It's Mathematics Sunday today?
I think so, man. That's probably what's going on with Zoom right now. Zoom, like, you can't drop these many at one time, you know? So
yeah, y'all got to relax. I see you, Zoom.
You got to pay for that.
Oh man.
Gee, what you humility being a lie?
Yeah. You didn't get the memo?
So yes, but again, I feel like I personalize everything. And and when I tell you
that's the artist in you.
That fake humble shit, bro, killing the ego. I didn't know that was a form of killing the ego though. Like that fake humble shit is a big occupier of that ego space. Cause it's almost sicker than the person that is presenting themselves to have a big ego, right? I did this. King Kong ain't got nothing on. That person is way easier to deal with than the person that's fake humble. And that was me for a really, really long time. Oh, fam, I didn't really do nothing, man. That was just like, shut up. That's so stupid. I did a lot.
It's not me, it's you, fam. You know what I'm saying?
But why you gotta rub the chest though? To rub the chest is a real thing. Like,
hey, I'm just saying, baby. Like, like why would I do these things? You know what I'm saying? I could never, you know what I'm saying?
I could never is crazy. I could never is nuts.
They be lying, bro. Like, stop that shit. Get that shit up out of here. Like, nobody want to hear that. Nobody want to be around it. And if that is you, man, I need you to do more. You know what I mean? I need you to get better. You know, that's about it. Like, that humility shit be killing me. And I'm just tired of it, man. I'm just tired of folks acting as if, especially because 2020 happened. And 2020 showed everybody's true side. You know what I mean? Like, you couldn't even hide behind humility when 2020 happened. Like, you saw everybody at their full-blown survival instinct mode. So either in those times they went all the way to like, aggression to where they didn't give a fuck like who they were talking to, what the other person was feeling, what they were getting, what they were receiving, what was coming back. You know, any of that stuff that was out the window. I'm going through it. Here is me. You know what I'm saying? Or you had the folks that was able to step back and like reassess the situation and did something where now the blessings is a little bit more of like where they can help at. Type to now like something has passed and like now we're back to like the humility shit. You know what I mean? Like I don't think that's kind of how that thing works. I think it's more so you should just completely be you and let me know who I'm dealing with. You know what I mean? For first and foremost, you know, like I don't think there is a need for like that little built-in filter. You know, I think the filtering is like lost time, and I'm not about lost time. Like I don't need any, I don't need any information that lapses in this with us doing like these fake greets. You know, like I don't appreciate it. You know, and I think more so where we can get a lot more done both coming to the table with all the information in hand for us to figure out what we're about to do with it. And I think that's a lot more. That's kind of more. That's the time that I'm on a little bit more. So the humility shit was just kicking me. You know what I mean? So I just have to speak out on it. That might be what an L don't fuck with moment. My bad. I might have went off on that one, but I wasn't. I don't fuck with it. Just because I saw too many sides. Like, money. I told you how many times nigga got sued this year, but also the situation I just dealt with. Like, I literally have seen so many different situations and been in so many different situations where individuals are all that shit went to the wayside. So there's like just keep it real now. I think we'll be good.
Yeah, Spesh, what are you in even reaching back, right? Your days at a at a syndicated radio station like that, the politics there. And then people, you make these assumptions like, oh, they gotta be crazy. I don't even want to do that. Like, I'm just imagining based off of my experience in corporate, when you have a mix of like the highest level of corporate but leveraging creative, that just makes for an insane space for that shit to take place. What did you experience in regards to like humility and like how that could be leveraged?
I think it's interesting because I started there when I was 19 years old, and I never had a job before then. I didn't have like a teenage job or anything like that. So for a while that was all I knew. So I was like, oh, this is normal. Like this is corporate life. Like this is how people run. Like I'm even reading a book now called Bad with Money, and she was talking about the unpaid internship program. And it's like, in hindsight, that shit is disgusting. Like the way they gatekeep people out. And when you're part of that system, like, brainwashed is a strong word, but if that's all you know, that's all you know. So it's like us priding ourselves on the fact that we were unpaid interns and we were going in on, our grandma's birthdays and working shifts, and you know what I mean? Like you create this weird level of pride, but also there's humility to it too, where it's like, oh no, you're not on yet. So you can't, not that you can't talk about what you do, but it's kind of like, well, when I get there, then I can talk about it, but I can't talk about it right now because I'm not there yet. So it's like these levels of just like, I'm working my ass off. I'm, just doing crazy things ultimately. And then, yeah, paying dues.
Who made that
in
shit?
So many ways. but yeah, so it's something that is hard to realize until you come out of it, to where it's like, oh, that I don't regret it, but I can understand the flaws in that system. And yeah, it was just really running around like, I'm technically still an intern, or I'm technically still lower tier, or I'm, and so in a lot of it is just very implied. Like, it's not like somebody comes up to you and goes, hey, it's just very implied, and you feel it. And to walk around with that feeling is very interesting. But then for me personally, like, I set it to where, oh, okay, like once I'm on air, like I'm gonna be this and I'm gonna be that. And it's like, you don't realize until afterwards, like, that's not how things work. Like, me getting on air also internally isn't gonna make me less of an introvert. Like, I'm not all of a sudden gonna be, it's like, no, that's just who I am. So it's like, yeah, politics wise within it, money wise, and just internally, like, getting to that place is not how it works. Like, it's the journey, not the destination, is hella cliche, but it's like, that's really how you have to carry yourself in any instance, especially if it's corporate, because there's going to be some weird shit that had nothing to do with you, but you still fall into it. So
yeah, we can say corporate is bullshit.
It is.
Corporate is complete bullshit. Yes. Like the atmosphere in and around it, you just see that it's built around people trying to keep their jobs. Like, that's literally the culture that's created. So the higher up you go, the even more tight ass you become, because of like the person right above you. You're on a certain stream, so you're underneath somebody that as they improve, you also can improve. So this is kind of like a kiss ass type of deal that you go through your entire lineage of it, and you suppress even more the further up you go. You know what I mean? So like, it's not like, oh, once I start making this amount, or once I start doing this in my job title, then all these things are going to change, or I can be the change within. Bro, it's not my company. You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of how the idea is. Like, it's not like, when it's your company, then yes, you can be the change that you want to see and see if that shit works out. But within somebody else's shit, this is kind of the things that I kind of appreciate, like the folks that I'll be working with. Like, literally, don't come in here with like the emotions of like how things are operating. Like, kind of like, it's more so like, you insert yourself into the situation, but don't allow this to consume you. Like, I would say, you need to find out something else that you love to do, and do this in the meantime until you can do that. Like, don't fucking blood, sweat, tear yourself into somebody else's shit. You know what I mean? Like, that's not like, do everything you can so that you can continue to move up. You know what I mean? So you can make more to foster whatever it is you want to do. But it's not a matter of what the more you put into it, and they're going to see me this way. Bro, they don't give a fuck. They can care less. What they see is how I'm going to feed my family, and they will cut your throat in order to do so. It is every day. Every day is a cut your throat moment.
And
go ahead, Pesco.
I was just going to say, like, the other part of the humility too, like, as you're speaking, like, I'm thinking back, and it's like, the humility was interesting too, because I look back on it almost as a downfall, because I wasn't comfortable walking into somebody's office and saying like, hey, I did this, look at me. Like, that's just not a part of who I am. And you would see other people go in and you're like, wait, they're on now? Like, what? And it's like, they just know how to talk themselves up. But also, like, on the other side of that, like, I completely agree. Like, your job has to be just your job, because you don't own that company. And not to sway anybody, but just in my own personal life, like, I'm part of a union now. And it's like, for me, that has made a difference, because they get 8 to 5, and that's it. I'm contractually obligated 8 to 5, and I'm out. You don't get more, you don't get nothing. So to me, that was a boundary that I had to create myself, because, being 19 years old and putting myself into that position, and that's all I knew. A way for me to unlearn it was like, okay, this place has hard boundaries, hard contracts. Like, this is what I need to do right now to kind of level out where I'm at and how I see things. Because yeah, like you said, you can't come in here with all these emotions and thinking that you're gonna run things and change things. Like, no. So
Fam, this company has been around, and there hasn't been one person that come in here and ran a thing. You know what I mean? Like it's interesting. It's interesting because like it's a matter of how you compartmentalize your mind in these type of aspects because somebody could hear that and feel like that is a down in the dumps moment as far as like how I should approach work. You know what I mean? And that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying look at what I just said and now there is no wins. You know, like now it should be like I should have even more of a dark cloud over me when I enter these aspects. That's not what I'm saying. Like what I'm saying is that change your mind's approach to
Yes.
what your days are like. You know what I mean? Like you'll be a lot more happier inside knowing that you put what you did because like you did the part that pays your bills.
Yep.
And then off the clock, you did this, that, and the other for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like you separated the two
Yes.
so that everything that you are is not consumed in what your work is. That's what people get fucked up. Like, why are you putting so much into your work, even though that's what they will tell you to do? You know what I mean? Like, people even chastise you on you not putting everything into work. And that's why people get fucked up. Like why would you put so much into that when you also have to have a balance of yourself? Like yourself should not just be when I get tired and I fall asleep. Like that was my time to myself was that I went to sleep last night for 2-3 hours. Like that shouldn't be yourself, you know what I'm saying? So that's kind of what I'm talking about.
Definitely.
You know when it clicked for me, G, I was trying to remember something happened. Oh no, it was the charity game for the city of Richmond basketball, and they wanted to use predominantly rappers, and then Sue and I forget who Sue and Coach Mellis, but Sue was like, "Yo, I picked you first," and I was like, "I haven't played basketball in God knows how long. Why would you do that? Like, are you crazy?" But his memory of me is being a dog, like for real, for real.
Yeah.
And so I was trying to remember back to that day, and those were like high school days, because at no point in college did I have that mindset. By the time I got into college, by the time conference rolled around, my confidence was completely shot, and I never got it back ever. And I don't even think I've said that out loud, to be honest with y'all. But culturally, displacement, there's a whole bunch of things that I was experiencing freshman year of college, but especially that first few months during training, then preseason happens, and then your confidence is slower, and like by the game, it was getting less and less and less, and just shit that was as easy as breathing my entire life, I completely forgot how to do. I couldn't remember, like everything on the hoop court was so fluid and so much muscle memory. That shit was gone because everything that I knew instinctually wasn't what was being asked of from the coaching staff. It was the quite opposite. And I'm like, fam, I didn't even know that was a way to play basketball. Like I didn't even know there was that much fucking thinking in basketball, bro. That shit was confusing because everything was just an extension of me my whole life. All right. And so lost it, and then there would be moments when it would come back, but it never ever clicked again. So my disdain for hoop just grew more and more and more. But what I didn't realize was happening is that same sort of confidence and fake humility that I was being overcome by in hoop was creeping in my fucking like real life. So even when I'm dealing with people and something as simple as like, yo man, them shoes is clean. Oh baby, nah, like how you gonna dispute your shoes being tight? Like that, now that's crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like now we gotta really analyze what the fuck is going on, right?
Yeah.
And so what I didn't want to happen, and I was very clear on that, is that I didn't want to be overcome by the same politics in rap that I was in sports. And I know that's a many thing to say, but it happened from the rip. It's like, yo, Monty, we don't know what position you play. Okay, nigga, who fault is that? Like, I can do it all. That ain't my fault. That's your fault. Put me anywhere and I'll figure it out. If it's guarding the biggest man, if it's guarding the shortest cat, I'm an asset. Don't flip that on me and go, hey, we can't identify your position, so it's gonna make you unscoutable. That's crazy. So now fast forward, hoop is positionless. So who was wrong? if we go on high, so all right, bet. So I wasn't gonna be overcome by that.
Yeah, there might need to be.
Say it again.
My bad. There might need to be a doc just on that period of time in college sports, because like there was a period of time where it was a transition from the old time period of everything being stuck in a specific space to like people becoming so much more than just a specific position, to it then transitioning to there's no way to do this, so the mold gets broken. Exactly. And then now the way that it's streamlined in, there's folks that will get that opportunity that it's just a lot different. I don't want to downplay anybody's games, but it's just a lot different for the landscape, for the landscape when you take that mental block out of it. And the mental block isn't from the individual. The mental block is from the people that control.
From the system, yeah. So the system, and we've danced around it. We talked about it and kind of poked fun at it, but because it's so attached to the fake humbleness for me, I do feel like it's warranted to break down, because it's like, nah, fam, like I'm a hooper. Like that's all I've ever known, whether it's being an undersized big, that's just what it was. So you learn how to defend the big guys. All right, bet. Draymond, Charles Barkley, like them niggas made a living off that shit. And so now for it to sort of become the norm, you see it in music. It's like, well, you don't make gangster rap, you don't make this, you don't make that. It's like, I just love music, fam. I'm here to do it. You're not gonna make that a knock on me because you don't know what to identify it as. That's a great thing that my sound isn't regional, that it's not even genre specific. The shout out to Concrete Violet, we did drop the Truth video that came out. I want to have Kate Noble on at some point to talk to them, but we're recording the album in Yountville, right in wine country. The most beautiful experience of my life. I've never made an album under these circumstances where it's food, it's good energy, it's sleep, it's plenty of weed. Like, you got everything you need, right? And the music is so different, it's so challenging. And I'm like, yes, this is awesome. I'm being pushed melodically, lyrically, conceptually, like all these things are happening. And then I remember sitting at the board, mixing my vocal in and being hella proud of the music and turning around to Kate Noble and going, yo, my niggas may not fuck with this music at all, and it saddens me. And they're looking at me like, what are you talking about? But that was a feeling that I had, because I was being me, right? And so to me, how my brain and my trauma assessed me feeling that free was like, oh, my real one's not gonna fuck with it. Fast forward to the record coming out and Freak going, yeah, this is the best thing you ever done. And he was the last person I expected to get that reaction from, because it was so counter to anything he was sort of like encouraging me to do. What I didn't want to continue was like, yo, I don't want to be overcome by those politics that I was in music, but I didn't even realize that I'd already been beaten. So that fake humble shit was having an impact on me creatively and even personality wise. Just like you impose favorite thing was like, money, you kind of got to be outside fucking around with us, man. Like, we got you. Like, you can't just be a hermit and expect people to fuck with the music and you being a man of the people. You can't, like, that don't exist, because you ain't outside for real, so we don't give a fuck what you talking about. You ain't outside. And Elle and Poe would say that religiously early, Spesh. And then I finally start to listen. And when I tell you, it was like somebody turned on a light switch for how fast the music started to connect, per them being like, you gotta be out, you gotta be out, you gotta be out, to the point of even back to the Rod Digger conversation of getting help. We're in LA Grammy weekend. Elle and Poe get to the lab. They're faded too. They're fucked up. It's my bad, G, but y'all was big faded.
And that's why I went home after that. After this moment you about to talk about, I went to the house. I was like, oh, we're not going outside. We're gonna be in the stool. I bet. Hey, y'all be amazing at this. I'm about to be up in the morning. I gotta go work out, but I'm going to sleep because I'm about to.
Not before. He didn't leave before, Spesh. He goes, we're going through beats, and I picked another one. And he's like, no, y'all should keep going. But it only resonated loud because he don't ever say shit like that, right? So, nigga, y'all heard the man. Keep going, like keep going. So we keep going, and he goes, "Oh no, that one right there, that's it." And he goes, "You should talk about this." I said, "Okay, easy enough. It's the easiest song I've ever recorded in my life." It was so easy because he picked the beat. And the concept was like, yo, do that. And then went, all right, y'all, see y'all tomorrow. Like, what the fuck? And it was a true lesson in what humility is, because the fake humble, what I was doing when I was fake humble is L could have done exactly that, and me go, nah, I kind of want to do this, but mask it in, oh, peace, king, yeah. But I'm gonna just do like it's. I hope that makes sense. That's how my brain has processed this transformation, and it's not being on no fake shit, bro. And that fake humble shit is the most toxic and dangerous shit, because it's how I feel about it's why I'm so adamant about the liberals being really dangerous, right? Because those are the ones that buddy and pretend to be something that not, and ultimately do the most damage to the movement that's happening. And so when you being fake humble, even guess what else comes with being fake humble? Not genuinely being happy for your peers and your counterparts. That's also a part of it too, where you going, yeah, man, I'm just a fan of everybody, and I want to. That shit not real. And anybody that's talking like that aren't real for real. And I can say that because that's what I was doing, and still behind the scenes harboring ill will to the niggas who was like really moving for real. And then once that shit went away, and I really became fans of the niggas I was pretending to be fans of, man, how I've been able to collaborate with them, benefit from their spaces, and then bring it, like, it truly has been the shift for me personally. So that humility is a lot of shit hit on some personal shit, G. I just gonna put that out there like that. You know?
I get what you were saying now, bro. But Monty said it at first, I was like, oh, I need this fucker right now.
No, that shit. It's like, ooh, you okay, all right, man. I could take it. Shit.
Nah, but now I'm gonna talk about that more, like when we get into like the movie reviews, because I had a hell of a week on movies. Like, this was probably one of the better weeks of movie releases that we've had.
Yeah.
So I don't know how many of them y'all saw on like the major platforms or whatever. But we'll talk.
You know, this is your segment, man, and Lex ain't here, so you really got to hold down the movies. Maybe Spesh has seen some too, but I've been outside all week.
I got you.
Can I tell you the truth real quick? I wanted to watch Malcolm and Marie this weekend, but we ended up watching Meteor Man. So.
Oh, hey, I'm not mad at that at all.
El just had a whole moment with me.
Man, you must have that on DVD or VHS.
I don't know where we found it, but we found it and we were juiced.
Okay, yeah. No, I've been looking for that, and I was like, that led us to our conversation about that stuff not being on any of like the DSPs or whatever. So like, I was trying to figure out where the hell that thing is. So yeah.
Let's save the movie corner for last, because we can take it on one. It's literally there's only one of mine that I want to get through, but it's not as important as these that L has. Are white people the last to know? And the Karens get a lot of notoriety, but L made a real good point, man.
Hey man, real life. Which one you want to talk about first, man?
You walk us through.
In order?
No. Because the Karens get all the acclaim. You know what I liken it to?
Huh.
You know what I liken it to?
What's that?
There is. Okay. I guess that's not a fair. It's got to be like culturally impactful. And you got to have context. You had to be there. Right? You just had to be there to see it for yourself. And if you weren't, you'd be like, they not popping like this for real, right? I guess the Karen is what came on the scene. Say it again.
Susan in a nutshell, because Susan got away with like having to be there in order. Like Karen just happened to come out when phones were accessible. Like you gotta see how many things had to happen before you could actually videotape a Karen. You know, like Susan's have just been living fucking wild out here, bro. Like
wait, who? Susan?
Susan. That's Karen. That's Karen's elder. Karen's mom. That's what's the one that messed with Rob?
Who? Who?
Rob
Black China. Black China's mama.
Black China's mama. You know, like you.
I'm the original.
You would have never known nothing about Black China mom without Black China. You know what I'm saying? So like, but she been out here wilding.
Been out here.
You know, situations that y'all know of where the daughter is nuts, but you haven't met the moms yet. Like the moms, once you meet the moms, you're like, oh shit, you actually ain't that bad. Like I don't like from given your upbringing, you have to be around that, and you got to make it to this point. I should actually give you a little bit more respect. You know what I'm saying? Your entire life is somehow some way you are some semblance of a human being. Like I don't like.
Oh, that is so awesome.
But yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's so real. Like it's ridiculous. Like, you know, I have my issues with my own mother, but yeah, like we would be driving around and she would call the police on people who didn't have car seats in their cars. And it's like, on one hand, I see what you're trying to do. Like, you care about children, but you can't just call the cops on people. This is not your security team. And the way you're talking about it, like, it's just passed on and passed on. Like, people see this and like, oh yeah, like my mom called the cops on these people, so I call the cops. Like, it's just, these are things that are passed down. So yeah, the Susans definitely started it. And, you know, we could go historical, but
yeah, we could just keep going.
Wait, it's somebody that precedes the Susans? What's her name?
I haven't put together the Susan, the one above Susan's name yet.
I'm gonna guess it's Ethel or something like that.
It's around there.
Is it
around there? Because Betty would be the cool line.
Betty. No, yeah, but not Betty. Yeah, Betty been fucking around. So
Betty been fucking around, but it'd be like the stuck up one. What was what's his mom name? Or what was Walter White's wife?
Oh my gosh, Skylar.
Skylar a little too new. Yeah. That couldn't be a grandmama somewhere.
They still making Skylers. I'm gonna guess it's Edna. It was Edna for sure.
It might be Edna or Ethel or something like that or something like that. I don't know. It'd be somebody up there that'd be the ones that was probably looking from inside the window, like in the window, just peeked over the curtain, called somebody, just because they touched their line. You know, they're trying to rob them. They touched their line on accident.
When you put our white people the last to know, I was reading an article about the Republican rep from Wyoming. They voted for her to resign because she was one of the ones who upheld the impeachment of Trump in the decision. And so everybody back in all the reps back in Wyoming, all the Republican reps back in Wyoming were like, yo, they signed a petition and like 70% of them signed a petition to have her resign. She like, that's crazy. And she literally had to explain to them because they were still holding on to the idea that the Capitol, the shit that happened at the Capitol was a product of Black Lives Matter and Antifa. Like this is in their writing. And she's going, oh, y'all just mistaken. Like y'all think I'm up here capping. Like this shit is real for real. And so when I saw that, it was like, yo, white people last to know, like, damn. Like
I'm just saying because you gotta think about in the history of the US, there's not too many things that have gone against you. You know what I mean? Like, okay, I don't want to put it in like a hyperbolic chamber because yes, we know that there are white people that are poor that have a ear way closer to the street, so therefore they have a little bit more of understanding of some things potentially. But that's such a small niche market of the US. So like I get it. I recognize y'all over there. But for the most part, when it comes to how the system operates, it was built so that you're not supposed to fathom some of the things that are inside of the nooks and crannies of what America is built off. So you should never know really what's going on in a crack because they cover that up for you. You know what I mean? So like they pave roads. Like you should never know what a pothole is like. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of how your life should go. So when some of these things start cracking through and start becoming a little bit more prevalent in your life, then this is the first time you're interacting with some of these things. So of course you're going to be caught off guard by it. Yep. So that's kind of what I was thinking about. And the cold part is that's the mature version of me. But that's not where I got that from. Like I got that question, I got that whole thing from that comment from Jared Goff not knowing like why he was going over to the Detroit Lions.
Bruh.
Like, bro, it's like that was news to me. Like, I didn't know. Like, I don't know why they didn't tell me about this. Like, we had I thought we was all on good terms. So, like, that's kind of weird because that was an immature version of me, but it was a lot deeper as I got further along.
That's where they start.
Yeah, it came from like the fact that, bro, you've been sucking for the last 3 years after you got that contract, and you did not know that they was about to ship your ass the first chance they get if you don't make it to where they expect you to go when they're spending all this money up front on you. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of like, but it goes across the whole landscape. So that's just sports. It can go everywhere.
With that, I want to. It is Black History Month. Happy Black History Month, everybody. And a happy belated birthday to the late great Trayvon Martin. He would be 26 years old. Yes, I don't. Is something about that? I saw that like family 20 crazy. And you know in the power of having to being the last to know, Trayvon will be 26. George Floyd was this past spring, and
Sandra Bland would have been 34.
Sandra Bland would have been 34, and we still having these conversations in and around social justice and policing, systemic racism. Like, fam, it's exhausting. It's exhausting, and something as routine as celebrating your 26th birthday. Shout out to Lit, my beautiful, not even baby sister, because she's a fucking mother now. Like that's crazy. You know what I'm saying? But I put it in the context of that. She's 26 and her life is just beginning, and she's thriving. She's making it look so beautiful. Becoming a mother and just up-leveling her life. My sisters as a whole, fam, let me tell you how awesome they are. We're on a Zoom call for my dad's therapy. Shout out Pop. He's kicking ass right now and doing the work he needs to do.
Baby.
You feel me? So we're on a call, and my dad and my sisters do this thing where they're all the same fucking person. And that level of not giving a fuck, I didn't get. Right, so so we're on the Zoom, and it's like it's not going left. They just all talk exactly the same.
You just happen to be you just happen to be the oldest child that was a male. Like it was like you were set up to be that way. Like you can't. There's no level of not giving a fuck that you could have in that household.
Because
there's so many fucks to give because the rest of the.
And so that's my logic.
For a show today.
Gee, that's my logic, right? So I'm going, all right, so that this don't completely go off the rails. Let me just stay here, right? But when the three of them get on one, it's just like get out the way. But when they do it in a professional Zoom setting, and because they're all hella intelligent, it really is overwhelming because it's like, oh, y'all do this tension shit really well. Like that don't bother them at all. Like it's second nature to them for them to maintain being them in the midst of the tension. And I'm just like, I was sitting on that call going, oh, y'all all the same person. And I didn't get that trait at all. I'm just like, yep. So this is happening. But it was
Money being a mediator between everybody.
No,
like,
I stopped. I
how to like make sure that everybody somehow dials it back in order to get to the common goal that we have. Nope, you backed out of it.
This ain't the podcast. Like at some point, at some point in my brain, I went, "Oh, this ain't the podcast. You be quiet, fam, and just listen and let them lead." Because they got it. They fucking got it. It was so impressive. I love. Shout out my auntie JJ. Like I am. When I tell you the people in my life like that I have immediate access to, I'm so grateful for y'all. You two included, just the amount of learning that takes place. And I want to say and it's back to not to keep doubling back, but even the humility portion, you two specifically both helped me with that shit. G, you already know the amount of work that you've done firsthand, but Spesh in your support in our collaboration and our efforts to release things and interviews and trading ideas, like it truly has been a reminder, like, nah, fam, we dope for real. And part of leveling up is fucking with yourself. And I don't know when that clicked, but I do remember it being a specific moment of going, how on earth can you expect the masses to fuck with you and you still over here like kind of fucking with yourself? You know what I'm saying? Like it's a strange thing that we do to ourselves in the name of like trying to monetize our creativity and our ideas. It's a lonely space, it's a confusing space as an entrepreneur. But the most important variable in it all is continuing to learn and killing that ego, bro. It's like teamwork. The concept of teamwork is simple as fuck, but the ego is the hardest thing to kill. Because it comes in all kind of shapes, forms, sizes, and it's often masked in humility. Shout out to L's fucking point. And that's why it was so hard, is so hard because I'm still every day it's like, yo, where that nigga at? I'm looking for him. Like we funking right now because he know I'm trying to kill him and he like ducking me, like, but I'm gonna catch his ass slipping and just throw him off the roof, like,
right.
And keep it lit. That's kind of how my brain is making sense of it right now. The weed man just texted me. Sorry, y'all. I get distracted because everything is digital. Excuse me.
Oh man.
Money with the robe on. Excuse me. Like.
You rang. Hey, answering the door with the weed man calling with your robe on is nuts. Your taco meat out like hey, and then pull the money outside the robe, like,
no.
Bro,
it's all there.
Bro, that's where we at now. We've been inside for that long.
That's what I said. I went to New York. Hey, I went to New York. I was in New York for like 2 weeks. And it's like the weed man don't have Venmo. I'm offended. Okay. Now I got you mean I gotta go to the ATM because you don't have Cash App, sir? I had attitude and everything. I was rolling my neck like I was acting like Coco. That shit is crazy.
As you should. What the fuck? Kind of business are you conducting?
It's crazy how backwards it is there. I lived there for a summer, and it was like people would come up to me asking to buy weed, and then when I'd have somebody visit, we'd try to find somebody. Like this was, maybe like 8 or 9 years ago, but still, it's like, how are you guys so backwards with this? Like.
Yes. Hey, shout out to my Brooklyn homies that's getting that figured out. Mm-hmm. Let's do it, man.
I think New York just inundates you with so many rules. Like they just throw so much shit at you that people kind of just they don't really know. Like they don't know the shit ass. Like they be stuck in between. You know what I mean? Because like the culture out there is to be is super aggressive.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But they also just don't know, like what line are you on? You know what I'm saying? Because you could at any time you could give me about 5 to 10 inside. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Just because you feel like it. So yeah.
Just because, you know what I'm saying? So I don't know. I don't know how I should approach this.
But that's what I do. That's why I do love New York, because is no, to your point, G, is no one's on the fence. Like they either fuck around, or they don't do nothing. Like because it's the rule, it's that much risk on the table. Like yo, you could do time for real, or you could just go on about your life out there. So the one, like when you find the ones that fuck around, you can get whatever you need. You need a grenade launcher, them niggas can find it. Like seriously, you can get any, bro. We fucked around in the meatpacking district one one weekend for real, before it completely was like gentrified, and the amount of shit that just was you could stumble into at 3 a.m. down there was nuts. So it's that whole underworld New York shit is real for real. Where the fuck you find Mick Foley at, fam? I thought Mankind was dead.
Bro, real life, man. I stumbled across this interview. I was like, wait a minute, hold up. Now, because it threw me off with wrestling, because if Mick Foley is still alive, then that lets you know that the cats from back then used to do like heavy drugs, like because Mick Foley, like the things that he put his body through, there's nothing that you could do offline that would keep you alive right now. You know what I mean? So like, it's not like he could like also be input into taking all these drugs and still be here right now. You know, like he's over there holding like an executive decision, executive position in like the company or whatever. So
I feel like that's what saved him in Triple H, right? Was like moving into the office realm and like be like, I imagine Mick didn't lean as heavy on the steroids as Triple H may have, but like being able to like slowly wean off of that shit and have some semblance of a normal life, where you look at the ones who had to do it at rapid speed, it was like here today, gone tomorrow. Like that Scott Hall 30 for 30 was hella hard to watch, bro. Like, cause Razor Ramon was such a legend. Like, and to see him like barely be able to like put words together and like hardly move at times and shit. And that Chris Benoit piece, I don't know if y'all watched that. That shit was heartbreaking. That was heartbreaking, bro, to watch. Eddie Guerrero, I watched his. That was hard. Clearly wrestling nerds, but like a specific.
You know who got a podcast?
Who?
Booker T.
Hulk Hogan, I'm coming for you, nigga.
and that's how his pod is, bro. Like he be turned.
Who gave Booker T a podcast?
I don't know, bro, but I'm talking about the like Booker T now has such a hard time getting his thoughts out. It's crazy. Like the aggression is still there,
but he can't put it together.
Me trying to put together just talking on a mic, bro, like trying to talk to the public somehow, some way that's not like the scripted situation or whatever, like be battling between like how real I could possibly be, or like, you know, like all that stuff on a pod.
It ain't clicking that fast.
Bro, it's the funniest shit out, bro. It's the funniest shit out.
Shout out to the legend Booker T, bro. Have you heard the snippet of him breaking down that interview where he says nigga on camera?
You guys broke it down a couple weeks ago, and it was perfect.
Yeah, it's like dog, like this is Manny, and it's one of the funniest moments. Shout out to Morgan too. We went on a tangent of watching old wrestling interviews, and it's a tie between how sick Macho Man could be and just that one Booker T moment, like, because I don't know if it was a combination of the roids and the coke. But whenever Macho Man showed up, it was gonna be a party. Like, bro, Macho Man told Brud, no more questions, nigga. But you doing an interview, sir? Like,
you doing an interview, and we rehearsed this.
We went over this. You had the questions, but Macho Man is walking off camera and yells down the hallway, no more questions. Like, bro.
You gotta let Macho be, bro. Like, hey, you look into Macho eyes, and you know when you can fuck with him and that when you can't.
They said that's how sick he really was. They said that's how sick, bro.
He's not actually here right now. So let me leave you alone.
Oh man, this is your time to shine, G. You said it was a great week for films. American Skin, American Sun, Malcolm Marie. What else came out, and then give us something about those and the filmmakers as much as you can.
Yeah, for sure. We just talked about the whole thing with the uh with like the Susans, the Karens, the police, stuff like that. Um, the films that were dropped this week are really like added like play adaptations into like
Mm-hmm.
put it behind the camera, and they did an amazing job. So the cool thing about these, I don't care what, I haven't looked at a review yet for all of these, so I can care less about that on these particular situations. But the American Skin, I added in American Sun because of the American topic that
Yeah.
like that the producers and the director and the writer and all that stuff what they were trying to portray, and also the actors too. um, but American Skin is something where American Skin is with what's his name? Is it what's his name? What's the actor's name? Give me 1 second. I'm sorry.
Nathan. Nate.
Nate. Is it Nate Parker?
Yeah, Nate Parker for American Skin.
Yeah.
Yeah, Nate Parker.
That's what it is. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So Nate Parker. So he makes the he made this adaptation of like a man that he lost his son after being pulled over by police. They basically take him out, and it's like the build up afterwards. So like kind of like what we just went through with the Floyd and all that stuff, with the protests and stuff. But the cop getting off, and then what type of spiraling mentality it puts you into as a person that lost a child, but also there's nothing that you could possibly do about it as far as like bringing them to justice.
Yeah.
So it was a cool spin, because if you know like Nate Parker's like background or whatever, or what he's done prior, he did the Birth of a Nation.
Yep.
So it was on that type of time, which is the
Mm-hmm.
type of time I'd be on when it comes to these type of situations, because like
Yeah.
that's the only time that we could possibly be on at this point.
At this point, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they're like the protesting and stuff like that. There's only one group of people in the history of protests that got what the hell they wanted out of a protest. Like only one group, and they're still the majority. They still run America. If they protested about how big the protest is, they tend to get the policies changed in their favor going forward. So protests, I get it. It's a way to blow off steam. It's a way to get the message and awareness out there. But for a lot of this, depending on the individual, protesting is the base level of civil rights, and our humility in a way coming to you saying that we were wronged, and see us, believe us, and do something about it. Like that's what our protest is about. But if you blatantly see our protest and figure out a way to snake your way around it, and which is what our history says, then what is our next option? You know what I'm saying? And you can only do that to us so many times, So that's kind of what this film is. But the cool thing about it, the cool spin on it, is that them doing. I don't want to talk too much about the actual film itself, but them doing like taking the officer to trial publicly. So like this is a filmmaker is doing. They have a filmmaker inside of the film that is uh, doing a documentary on the character within this, on like after the protest has happened and they got off, like like what your days are afterwards. So taking the police um, and taking them to trial, like taking over the police station or taking over Capitol Hall, and taking the police and putting them on trial amongst their amongst like the jury and stuff like that you create in this setting. This is what we're going to do, and see if you can see what you did, and then find out what the repercussions are for what it is that you did. That's the idea behind this movie. So I think that this is a cool film that needs to be shown to the police force. Like I think this should be a part of the police force's training. So they say that. So a lot of times, and I've had run-ins with the police. I've had, and I had people that are family to us that are police. So it's a weird conundrum that you end up being in, dealing with that type of deal, because you're like, it's not all police, but it is the level of ceding to your brotherhood over what your humanistic views are in each particular situation, because each situation is different, but the outcome has been overwhelmingly the same. So we're not getting, something has to be fixed within that. So this is a film that gives you an idea of like what the extent of what you do to us can be, you know, and it gives you, it's kind of like a, to tell you the truth, it's an ode to like, you might want to see it, or you might want to understand it, you might want to get a grasp on it now, because what's next you is it's going to be so out of hand that you don't, there's no way of reeling it back in.
Yeah.
So I think that people think that a civil war is on its way. It's inevitable that a civil war would have to happen, but think about how you could get out of the possibility of a civil war having to take place, you know. So that's kind of where we are with American Skin. Same thing with American Sun. Is something that needs to be shown to something that needs to be shown to mixed relationships, something that needs to be shown to the police, something that needs to be shown to children, something needs to be shown to adults. It's a cross reference for just like how you raise your children to interact with the police force, and then like how the police force's interaction back is with like people of color, you know, like how they automatically view you, you know. So like it's kind of like touching on a lot of that dialogue that we don't tend to have to, like we have the dialogue on like how you should interact with police, but we don't have it where um, the potential of like how out of hand things to become and how you can get out of it, you know, like we don't tend to have that too much. So that's interesting. So those two are on the same level.
Yeah. And then Malcolm and Marie, I I woke up at like 5 this morning, and my timeline was full of Malcolm and Marie took me on one last night. Like what what was going on? And you know, just it's just dope to see film. Like again, I have the reviews. I swore off Rotten Apple, Rotten Tomatoes, excuse me, Rotten Tomatoes after they gave. I can't remember what it was. It was something that I absolutely loved that I didn't look at their reviews first, and I was like, "Yep, won't be doing that no more." So I haven't seen any reviews yet. I just saw Twitter going crazy for it, and no one really said whether it was a bad movie or a good movie. They just said what the emotional roller coaster that they went on. So I automatically took that as they loved it. Like if it took you on one emotionally, then you were there for it. So
yeah, a lot like American Sun and an American Skin. A lot of the like the reviews that would be against it is just like there's too much dialogue, not enough action, stuff like that. So people have been programmed into there being a lot more action in some of these films as opposed to really being taken on one, which Malcolm and Marie is literally the most dialogue you're gonna have in a film that's not like um, something by shit, the guy that made I never know like people's names off the top of my head, but like the one that made the movies with like Samuel Jackson and them. Fuck, never mind. But Malcolm and Marie is something that needs to be shown to everybody that's in a fucking relationship, like every single person. That y'all should watch that. If y'all are in a relationship, y'all should watch that together, because the dialogue within there, they take it to the extreme in order to get some of these things on the table for everybody to talk about. So the things that I saw that were against this film is that there wasn't a conclusion. Like there wasn't a conclusion to like
you need closure. What?
Hey, do that. Like the thing is that it goes on, like this fight that they're having goes on for so long that, and it has so many different layers to it. Like it just like one person would be down, the other person would be on one, then that person would be down, and then the other person would come back on one. So it was just like a battle of wits back and forth for an entire hour and 40 minutes. You know what I'm saying? So like it's exhausting. Fucking Malcolm is exhausting. Like his personality is an exhausting personality.
Yeah.
But it's men, like I want to say men in general, but it's a lot of men ego and like male ego in that. It's egotistical. Some of the shit that we go through, like when we get on our role of like being hurt, like because women have a great way of like really like seeping right in and touching a button that we cannot turn off.
Women know how to do the leg sweep, but the one that you're not ready for it. So you think you cool leg sweep, and then you actually fall. Not you stumble, but you actually fall. Like that's how women be cutting for real,
bro. Real life, and Marie is literally a character that every man that really is out here really out here being a man needs that individual as a portion of their backbone.
wow.
You know what I mean? Like
wow.
a person, like you need a Marie in your life. And it's really a story of like a Malcolm figure not understanding, taking a Marie figure for granted and not understanding like how much this person adds to your life. Like your life is not, you can't do shit that you're doing without this individual being there along this route.
Plugging the holes in your boat. Okay.
Bro, stick with it.
Damn.
But I fancy it, the way I fancy it is Malcolm is ether, because the way that he was, the venom that he was throwing on his side was ether type venom, where like initially you're like, fuck. And he doesn't stop. Like he just keeps getting to a whole nother level of how bad I want to hurt this individual. So there is no ending to my hurt towards you. And then Marie is the takeover. Like, all right, I'm gonna take everything that you just said and I'm gonna find the points that you said. And this entire time I'm gonna be giving you like I'm gonna be mapping out to you where I align myself in your life. So you're not saying it, but let me just show you exactly where I align myself in that. Okay, now you're really cutting deep. All right, now you really hurt. Bet. All right, so when I release this on you, there's nothing else that you can possibly say in life. And one day, if you come to your senses, you can only align yourself with me. There's no going anywhere else. You can't figure it out. You're gonna realize that you're one day, this is where you're gonna end up needing to be. And she take over that at the end of the movie, like that. There was nothing else to be said.
Hey, you just pulled Dame from 35 in front of Paul George, nigga. That's what that was, man. I wanted to jump in, but I didn't want to step on it for real. So I was like, oh, he cooking. He cooking. Hey, coach called a play and you waved everybody off one step past half court and said, I'm shooting from right here. I got this.
Bro, it's a bad shot. No, it's my shot.
This is my shot. That was awesome. Malcolm is ether, Maria's takeover.
Bro, me watching that, like I don't care what anybody says. Like I see this film as automatically the film of the year, and I know it's only February, but I see this film as the film of the year, and I see John David as best actor. I see Zendaya, who, oh my God, the acting chops that she utilized. They both utilized amazing acting chops, but which I didn't know that Zendaya had that. Like I didn't know. Like I know she's great. I didn't know she had that, and that was the first time she displayed that. That she's best actress. I don't give a fuck what anybody says. I think that's what this film is.
Damn. You said you didn't watch it yet, Spesh, right?
No, I remember watching the trailer and being like, oh my God. So after hearing that review, I'm even more, oh my God. So yeah, like I said, it was on my list. We watched Meteor Man, but
that's a great film.
But we're probably gonna watch it tonight. So yeah.
Yeah, no, same. Get on it tonight. That ether takeover analogy is perfect.
It's not what you think either. Like the trailer, they did a great job at not doing it justice, because you got to see Yeah. I really want to have a conversation about men in general because men fucking think that I have a thing out against men. But I do want to have a conversation about the male character in this film and the female character in this film. Like
Yeah.
one day, let's just have that conversation.
Gotcha. Nah, yeah, men, we get a bad rap from the dudes on the show. That's what's so sick. I feel like we here to support you brothers. Like safe space and like, nah, fam, y'all don't fuck with us for real. I'm like, wait, what? Like, how do you get that from us?
I mean, truthfully, I just want us to be better. So that includes all men, regardless. So I'm not here to like help y'all through like coddle y'all. You know what I'm saying? Like I think men overall gets coddled when it comes to a lot of these like emotional connection type things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think that's what I'm not here for. I'm not here to coddle y'all. We're grown. We can have some of these conversations.
We got through a lot. There's one last thing I do want to discuss because Spesh is here and I need her to talk me off the ledge. Tripping. 2 weeks ago, I got sent a clip of Ninth Wonder having a discussion with the great Bob James. Mm-hmm. Beautiful discussion because Ninth is an amazing human being who isn't plagued by fake humbleness. He knows how talented he is, so it affords him way more terrain to be a true fan and an audiophile. And so the interview was dope. The conversation was really, really dope between them. Mm-hmm. However, I'm sitting there listening to Bob James speak, and while I know this is a historic moment, there's a part of me that's frustrated by this conversation because I'm listening to the microaggressions in between the lines, and I'm hearing Bob James's disdain for not being looped in on some of the money plays that Nautilus and some of his other records garnered because it's been sampled so many times. Mm-hmm. But he starts off talking about what an afterthought that song was. He goes, yo, we thought the other songs were the jams on there, so they're at the beginning of the record. That it's the last song on the record on the B-side because I just had to fill up the space. And it's a filler. So I'm going, okay, if this is a filler and these borderline geniuses took what you put out as an afterthought and flipped it into some of the greatest hip hop songs in history, what are you mad at for real? What are you upset about? And not to say that he was mad or upset, he was just talking about, being left out of some of the business, which I'm all for. I'm super pro people being sampled and the paperwork being legitimate and people getting taken care of. But there's so many stories where songs that were sampled that have the potential of being really big songs are either not cleared by the artist or they take 100% of the publishing, and the artist just goes, man, so that it come out, y'all have it, and it's getting kind of crazy. What the Marvin Gaye estate was able to do to Pharrell and Robin Thicke, I did not care for. I'm sorry. I know that's sacrilegious to say. That was some bullshit for me personally. And I'm not the biggest Lizzo fan either. However, this late the great CeCe Peniston, I think I'm pronouncing. Huh?
They don't cancel you.
I know they gonna come for me. It's all right. But CeCe was able to win a settlement saying that Lizzo referenced her ad-libs. Her ad-libs, y'all. What are we doing? Seriously? It's getting ridiculous. So now companies like TrackLib and your Splice and all these different companies get to exist as sound collection spots as a third-party service in between just the transaction that humans could do. And so now there's these new walls and these new things to go through. Granted, they're getting better and they're streamlined. They're easier. I'm not saying that they're not that they haven't been beneficial tools. They're very beneficial. Love Splice, love TrackLib, love what they do. it's still the mindset in and around referencing and sampling and all this stuff. It's like, bro, a lot of them songs sound like completely different flips. Like taking something and make like Steely Dan ain't never sound so good on motherfucking Champions. Did you realize like Ye flipped the fuck out of that shit? And then and they almost didn't clear the shit. So we almost don't get a chance like that. What like it's stories like that that just make it cringe worthy and make it hard to not being on the side of, man, just take everything. I don't even care. Like publishing and licensing as a whole is already a space where just the language alone is discriminatory because it immediately removes a majority of the creators who make the shit from being able to earn for real for what some of these records are generating for real, so that streaming services can do what the fuck they want, essentially, and operate in complete autonomy, unless you have the legal and understanding to really push your line and understand and do the business. And we take for granted what a privilege it is just to have the bandwidth to go get that information, to be competitive, and then be able to apply the pressure. Am I off?
No, it's ugly, and it blows my mind that it's still ugly. When you were talking, it reminded me of a documentary that I watched a couple months ago. That's not my favorite documentary, but it really outlines all of this. It was the Who Let the Dogs Out documentary, which is on Hulu. I don't like how it was made, but the thing that it drove home is this idea of there's nothing new under the sun, but that's okay. Like there's different iterations of things. Like creation is everything that you are and everything that you've experienced. So to think of people trying to have their hand in it, like how much money did he already, like that just sounds greedy to me, that he wanted in on all these business deals. Like it's just crazy. And I think back to like storytelling too. Like if you think about like ancient storytelling and how that was passed down, to me it's the exact same thing. Like this is just people passing things down. Like, you know what I mean? Like how many kids didn't even know who Steely Dan was until they heard that Kanye record and were so excited that they went and looked that up. You know what I mean? Like this is how things are passed down. You have to give people the freedom to play with things and pay tribute to things that helped make them into who they are today. Like this is what the creative process is. So to just tear it down like that, like has bothered me way too long. So it's like, why is this still happening? But yeah, overall it's just like, okay, so what's creativity then? Like if I mean I want to study music at one point, but I'm like, how many chords are there? Like what are we talking about here? So it's like when you take it to the fundamentals, you're like, what are we doing? Not to mention people, this is how it gets passed down. So
you know, that's all. It just there's a part of it that's frustrating because it has the wrong people at odds with each other, right? So we're tied up in litigation. The artists are, and both of our legal representation and whatever label and whatever other PRO, like there's a filtering system of a bunch of people who stand to gain from this pot, and we're essentially arguing over pennies on the dollar between the two of us when we could remove all the middlemen. It's the divorce settlements. That shit is confusing to me, where it's like you could be mad enough to want to go get half, but then the half that you think you after, really by the time it's all said and done, the lawyers ate up half of that shit. When it's like, I know you mad, I know you upset, but we could just bust this down together and it all be over with.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, shout out Bob James though. I know he's clearly revered. I didn't really care for his tone in and around some like the Run DMC record. Is like, yeah, there's another one of those deals I was cut out on. It's like, bro, that was at the height of hip hop transforming into this global phenomenon that was proven that it was going to be around forever. Because even in the height of Run DMC, like talking to the OGs who lived it, like, fam, didn't nobody think that shit was going to be around the very next year? And it's like, there's not a part of me that can begin to understand that because it was 30 years ago, right? And so if you're going, yeah, man, in '89, we didn't think that shit was going to crack. It was tight for the moment, but we thought by the time 1990, at the turn of the, in 1990 that was just going to be over. And it's like, it's crazy to think that people really felt like hip hop was just going to die like that, because there's not a part of me that can imagine it, because it's still here and I don't want it to go anywhere. And the thing that's holding it up, did y'all freeze? Yep.
And he's gone.
Dun, dun, dun.
I think it's just a limit on like, hey, you talking too much, fam. This about to go. The connection's about to go out. But it's just dope.
You gotta wait on it, man. You gotta wait on it.
It's just it's dope that hip hop is still here. What yeah, man, that's what.
Yeah,
that's
I think
what we
the
have.
only unfortunate the unfortunate thing about that whole thing is just the stumping of creation, because if you look at how Pharrell is at this moment, that has stopped Pharrell from us having Pharrell. You know what I mean? Like Pharrell ain't making shit to the capacity that he was making it, and that's because that whole situation really ate him, like really ate at him. You know what I mean? That's
And not about
unfortunate
the
because how much that you said what?
and not about the money. I would just to accent your point. It's not about the money. It's like spiritually on some creativity shit that really hurt him. That he could be deemed to disrespect one of his musical heroes. It don't have nothing to do with the money. So go ahead, G. My bad.
No, completely. And that's, how much of that is in creation, you know what I mean? It's just how much respect that you have for what it is that you're listening to, that you even want to flip it the way that you do flip it. And a lot of that should be encouraged by the industry in order for it to evolve and continue on. But that is stopped in the name of it continuing to be a top down organization. Like the top of the pyramid can make that shit happen, but overall throughout the landscape, they don't want that to be the case. They don't want you to, branch off and do your own thing, just whatever way you want to do it. Your pockets won't be long enough in order to, reap the benefits of any of that shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it makes you therefore not do it in the first place. When a label or some type of company at this point, now shit is owned by tech. A tech company can fucking take the likeness of whatever it is and give you the open infrastructure to make what it is that you want. But we're taking all of this from you. You know what I mean? Like you're gonna get a very small amount of it, and we'll bust down whatever we need to bust down as far as like who this needs to go to. But I bet the settlement that they're having with some of the labels ain't nothing that they're having as far as like with like individuals.
Exactly.
Individuals they think got over. You know what I mean? So that's the disrespect and the slap in the face of this whole conversation, I think.
Well,
because they're like oh my bad. They're like insulting your intelligence.
And to me, it's just a further example of the music industry just not evolving. Like there's so many ways where it hasn't evolved, and this is just one of them, to where it's like, this is creation. And then on top of that, of course, it really affects producers and people who are making music, but it also affects other creators. You know what I mean? The fact that people can't use songs in YouTube videos or in podcasts, or you know what I mean, like all these other realms of creation, and labels are constantly shutting those down. And it's just like, once again, to me, that's storytelling. That's how people discover music. So it's so ass backwards that you're going to rip my video or podcast off of a site because I featured one of your songs when I'm giving it to people. Like, somebody could have not discovered that. So it's just the evolution of it just continues to smack all creatives in the face. And it's just like, why do we uphold you all so much? Like, it's disgusting.
Yeah, so soon enough it's gonna be where you can't even reference things.
Yeah.
Like, don't even think about referencing anything that's outside of your own likeness in order, like, and they can snatch it or take it or get whatever it is that they want from it if you're monetizing it. You know what I mean? Like, and it's like, how else does communication work? You know, like, if we're just all talking to each other from the rip from something that we created in our mind, how many people that don't know us yet is going to be willing to take the time to listen to what the hell that you're talking about? You know what I mean? Without any reference whatsoever that will be, you know, that'll bring them into like understanding, you know, then how the hell are we going to communicate? You know, and that's kind of like the weird part of this whole thing is that, you know, I think it stumps everyone's growth overall. Not being able to, you know, do some of these things. But
yeah, and the crazy part is like, you don't even have to be monetizing your shit. They'll still rip it down.
Right.
They're like, oh no, that's mine. I don't care. Like, I don't care what, if you were using free use, if you weren't making money off of it, like, nope, it's mine. And I'm like,
It's punk ass UMG Universal Music Group ripped our Kanye video down within seconds last night. It's pretty. I was actually impressed. Like, I was like, yo, that's crazy. Nobody making no bread, no nothing. Just storytelling. And it's like, nope, you can't use this because we said so. It's sick. But I also get it too.
Is that why Kanye is never gonna get out of his contract, like his music contract?
Say it again, I'm sorry.
So is that why Kanye is never gonna get out of his music contract? That's kind of separate from what you was talking about. But
that's exactly why he ain't gonna get out of his shit. When he was, I never felt so sad for somebody, bro. That's that lit. When he was posting his contracts, and he's got a deal with somebody who's got a deal, and he's essentially in a slave deal musically. So it's the context, right? So Ye gets a lot of shit for his antics and everything, and why you not? I miss the old Kanye. Y'all, did you not see this man post that he's in a slave deal? So all that shit that he thought he was doing with College Dropout and giving black folks hope, he not about to put that out on them folks' merit for them to benefit off of Jesus Walks or spaceships. He not about to do that for them folks. So he'll give you bleach buttholes and t-shirts if you UMG, if that's what you want to do. Take that. Like, I've been in crack the code on Ye. So everything he cares everything he cares about ain't attached to them folks at all.
And to put it in context, like, think about giving away Jesus Walks
for free. And that being played at graduations and everything for it. Nah, and you're not making a cent off of that. That's what we talking about, Bob James. You go make some shit with intention and then talk about you being cut out of deal. You're able to make publishing off of a throwaway because people reimagine it and repurpose some shit that you was throwing away. You should be grateful, my nigga. I'm so nobody wants to say that because he's a legend, but that's ultimately what it comes down to. Pharrell telling Nori, Pharrell giving Nori holla back youngin and say, yo, reference the Vanilla Ice flow, and Nori going, no. And then Pharrell giving it to Fab and going, yo, reference the Vanilla Ice flow, and Fab going, rolling, go to see the stash in the dash, hold through heater. Nigga, that's brilliant. That's not copying. It's just pure genius. I hate that I know holla back young in my heart.
We all do.
Important.
It was a big record.
It was a huge record.
Like,
oh man, my dad just called me. His conversation windows are limited, so I'm gonna jump off. But I want to tell you both, I love y'all and thank y'all so much for keeping it lit. Lex, we love you, bro. We proud of you. See you back next week, Spesh. And we got to do it again when it's all four of us in person, so we could really, really take it there for real. But I appreciate you making it lit.
No problem. Thank you both. Like I said, we listen every week. Sometimes we listen to it twice a week. So I'm happy to be here. I'm thankful for you guys sharing this space and having me. And just I'm thankful that you guys do what you do. So thank you.